Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry! Ladies and gentlemen, it's great to be back after missing the last round of the 60 laps for the Glen on June 29th. But we are back. Oh, are we back? Yes, we are. We are back with my all-time favorite circuit ever. We are at Interlagos in Brazil. What a circuit this is. What can you say about the circuit? Well, we will discuss that very, very shortly. Let's have a look at the calendar as it currently stands at this moment in time. It is the 90 minutes of Sao Paulo on July 20th. Then we're on the August 24th will be the 90 minutes of Circuit of Americas. Then the 90 minutes of Fuji for round 10. Round 11 will be the Indy 100. Then the 100 laps of Road Atlanta on October the 19th. And then the season finale, 2 hours at Bahrain. Well, we've got to do it. Let's have a chat about the circuit itself. Interlagos, Sao Paulo, 4.31 kilometers, 2.68 miles. It is absolutely amazing. The circuit itself has been around since 1940, and I will say as well, the 1940 to the 56 layout is absolutely amazing. It's 4.9 miles, 7.9 kilometers. The track itself has been through evolutions. It has seen everything. It's seen rain-soaked go-kart sliding Formula One cars. It has seen absolutely everything. Let's have a look at what the challenges they've got to deal with today here. It's going to be carve up the curves. What do we mean by that? Well, there are some very tricky curbs on this circuit. They've got to make sure they can get round them 100% without giving themselves any major drama. Don't trip in traffic. Well, there ain't many places, once they start lapping, that they're not going to get to see them again. That's it. It's going to be one lap after another, as soon as they start lapping the back markers. And of course on there, mind the curves, as we've discussed already. Let's have a look at the GT strategy here as well this evening. It is going to be the FE Vantage will be the cars to beat, along with the C8, the AMG and the NSX. Fuel, 30 to 35 minutes, 2 stops, and the only tyres that are available are the mediums. So that's what they've got to contend with. Let's have a look at the hypercars here as well. The hypercars have the medium and the hards. 20 to 25 minutes. They're going to have 3 to 4 pit stops, give or take on that one. Rear-wheel drive ARX, rear-wheel drive Porsche 963, and the all-wheel drive Tipo 6 will be the cars to beat. They've got to make sure that they can get through. See what happens with them. Are they going to manage traffic? Well, we will find out very, very shortly. Let's have a look at the scores on the doors at the moment here as well. Starting off with the hypercar pros. Dan Kirby out in front by 211. Dan Herlock on 151. Massive gap for Dan Kirby. The guy might as well just not turn up for a couple of rounds. He is just insurmountable. Tom Lane in third, then Wouter de Bruin, Cameron Barker, Timon Suvic, John Uyam, Michel Dinu, Michael Bell, Bradley Sellers are your top 10. So, teams, as you see on the left-hand side, it's on the right-hand side, sorry, it's CMS Pro, Smile Power Racing, Manta Squid, Team Rookie, SKS, Crown Dental, Aerolab Esports, Joy, Futago, Ferrari American, and Boyd Transport. There's a lot of people in that Hypercar Pros. It's 30 cars. In the Hypercar AMS, a little bit more straightforward as George Angelidis leads the way on 162. Is this finally going to be George's season? He's tried, he's failed, he's tried, he's failed, he's tried, he's failed, but he's looking like he might give it a go this time. Go on, George, have it, son. Jerry Chen in second with Scar Pope in third, and John Meyer in fourth. Craig Pullen in fifth, Eric Mornay in sixth, but Norgraf in seventh, Benjamin Poitier eighth, Luke Goodlife in ninth, and Gwillenbeck in 10th. You can see everybody else 10 to 18 below that. Team standings, Zakuri Mistral out in front with HRC US, Reptile Racing Porsche, Total Lions, Team Lev Speed and Hardtail Racing are your top 6 in the GT3s. Again, there was 28 cars there as well. David Jean leading in the way with JT Tammy in second place, Eduardo Benica in third, Alicia Neto in fourth, Ross Smith in fifth, who we will chat to shortly, James Walker sixth, Johnny Gutierrez, Joe Wilkes, Carl Vesser, Becky Ely rounded out the top 10. You can see everybody else from 11 to 28 all the way there as well, from 34 down to 1. In the teams, Dark Thunder Racing leads the way with Team Pazoo in second, Stardust in third, Sim Racing in fourth, SB Racing fifth, XRL, Bad Day, Faux Real, SHQM, and Car Beer Racing Ford Mustang there in 10th place. In the GT3 AMS, here we go. It's Matthew Booch in first place with Stephen Miller in second, and then Stephen in third with Josh Lepetri fourth, then Mike in fifth, Filippo Marazzi in sixth, James Bowder seventh, Pierre Moreno in eighth, Ryan Reyes ninth, Roland Hagenas in 10th, Carl Strihol, Jelly Hingin and Alexander McQuarrie. Trash Panda leads the way with Speed Details in second in the GT3s. That is the scores on the doors currently as we go into this round, guys, as well. I'm James Parfitt, finally. I'm going to bring in Bradley Dalton, who's going to join me. And, of course, we've got the Evan, the Bug, the Fly, the man himself, the myth, the legend, the Mr. Paul Glover on production. But what I want to do first is have a chat with Mr. Ross Smith, who's joined us in the booth. Ross, how are you, dear sir?
I'm good, James. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
I'm very well, thank you very much, matey. Looking forward to this one, my all-time favourite circuit as well at Interlagos. How's it been out on the race circuit for you?
It's been tricky, but overall pretty good. Lots of cars today. We've got, last I saw, 44 in the grid, so it's going to be a packed house. Not quite horses in a hallway, but it's going to feel more like taking the whole family down the water park slide. Yeah,
it definitely is going to be. How tricky is it out there at the moment?
Conditions aren't too bad. It's actually pretty preferable. It's not too hot. Track is rubbering up pretty nicely. I think the biggest focus today is going to be kind of like what you talked about with a lot of the traffic and just keeping the car underneath you throughout the whole thing, because the corners definitely start melting tires after a time.
Yeah, how tough are they going to be? What are we expecting in terms of cars there, Ross, as well? If I turn around and said to you, right, what are you going to tell me in your GT3? You know, what you're going to give me in forms of tyre wear? How's it looking out there for you?
Tire wear is actually pretty even all around. There might be a couple things happening with strategy, just depending on who's got what car and how they've got it set up. But overall, I think it's just going to be one of those things where you've got to try and keep the tire temperatures as far down as you can, so that way you're not just losing all of your grip up front and just burning them down. And you're going to see, I think the C8s are going to do pretty well here overall. They tend to like these types of corners, the slow and medium speed corners where you can just kind of go in deep and come out. They really like that, although they'll struggle a bit on the straights for that top end. And the Astons, of course, will always be powerful. The NSX is struggling a little bit here. There's a bit of push. We should see that kind of correct partway through the run. So maybe it will come back and be competitive. Both the NSX and the Aston received a 40 kilo update, so 40 kilos more for the BOP process. So expect the Mercedes and the Mustangs to look a little more fighty as we go through the rest of the race.
All right, mate. Well, that's something we can look forward to as well. Where are we at? you know, you're SGS, you're part of Storm Gang, you and the crew as well. What's the situation with mods at the moment? Because we're quite late on in the season. Are we still modding for this season, or have we moved on now?
Oh no, we're definitely modding for the season. It's basically an overall strategy of trying to take cars that overlap with our 2023, 24, and 25 set and hit those first, because that's going to be the biggest bang for the buck. You know, you get to see them throughout this season and in the next season, at least as far as visual updates are going to go. In terms of modding, there's not a whole lot. It's going to be mostly BOP that's going on here as we're talking about the modern series. So as we're going into next year, we've definitely got a lot of testing mules that we're working through and getting those updated. Any of the Studio 397 cars, they're getting changed out, and we're going to have our own proprietary cars and mostly Evo updates for what you'll see, and we'll get those going. And when we go to next year, all of the cars will be exclusively Storm Gang simulation cars. There won't be any studio cars left in there, and we'll have some special updates. We'll have some of the new cars included, so it's going to be great. So it's just getting all that done on top of getting the next year's historics in place as well.
Yeah, how's that working out for you?
Going pretty well. Actually, that's the main focus right now as they're going through and getting the pack. There's 5 cars that are going into next year, and it's definitely tricky as John and George are working together in the alpha stage for all the cars in terms of getting them set up, getting fuel strategies in place and that kind of thing. So it's a very difficult thing that they're going to have to get into, because there are some special circumstances as we go into next year's series, and they're just taking all those considerations in, and they should be giving off to beta testers, I would say probably by the end of this month. So the last part of summer here, they'll be able to get them in their hands instead of closer towards Thanksgiving like they had last year. But it'll be good. It'll be great.
So I'm going to get my car very shortly.
You certainly can, yeah.
You know, do I get my beta test historic car?
Oh, you want to be on the team? You want to give it a go?
Yeah, I'll drive one.
Okay. Well, I'll talk with John, since he's running the testers program, and see what we can do for you.
Oh yeah. Then I'll know before Paul what year we're going to go down, and then I'll be well happy.
Well, he does have to accept you first, so we'll see how it goes.
Oh, just tell him I've got loads of time. I work from home. I can make at least 2-3 hours a day for him. You know what I mean? Got a VR now as well. I could definitely make myself seasick in that period of time. It'll be all good.
And you'll have that new internet too, so it'll all be good.
No, 7th of August, everyone. Looking forward to that one. Finally, it's only taken me, I don't know, God knows how long. But listen, Ross, it all sounds very, very exciting. Where am I going to see you today? Where is Ross Smith going to finish on this race, or in this race, I should say?
It's tough. After that BOP adjustment, it's going to be an absolute fight the entire time, and I think the real winners of today's race are going to be able to manage their equipment and stay out of trouble. That's going to be number one. I mean, having the pace is going to be good, but it only takes one hypercar to come alongside you in the wrong spot to just send that all crumbling down.
Yeah, and I'd hate to have to give an opinion on that happening, Ross.
Well, today's track is going to be especially difficult because you've got a lot of multi-point corners. You've got a lot of late turn-in corners, and so you've probably seen it somewhat in practice here. There's a lot of toss-up as drivers are going through each of these segments. So they've got to really have their heads up. They've got to have their eyes on stocks, and there's got to be really good body language between the different classes of cars. Because if you don't have that, if you just take your line and don't consider anything else, then you're almost certainly going to guarantee a collision. So it'll be entertaining if nothing else.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's see what's going to happen here. I think as well. You know, I'm gonna reserve all judgment, Mr. Smith, until after the race. How about that?
Reserving judgment for later? I don't know about that, but all right, we'll hold you to it.
Look, it's in the Lagos. I'll love it regardless, but you know how I get with traffic. It gets all a little bit tizwazzy, doesn't it? Let's be real about it as well. But listen, thanks so much, Ross, for joining us there, buddy. You've got about 8 minutes left to warm up at the moment, so you can go and chill out and get a drink and everything else. And I suppose after that one, Ross, take care. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll end up talking later, but if not, have a good race, everyone, and thank you again for all that JPB does.
Yeah, no dramas, man. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. So there you go, guys. That's Mr. Ross Smith there as well. Thank you so much to Ross for joining us as he normally does. Now, the man that is going to join me in the booth for this whole 90 minutes is Mr. Bradley Dalton. I suppose at some point I better bring him into the booth, and we'll do that right now. Brad, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. You know, James, I enjoy your voice, so I was kind of okay just sitting back, letting you go for a while. But I mean, I guess I need to come in for the 90 minutes here as the cars are getting out on track for warm up. It looks like the drivers' meeting is over, and you know, it's Interlagos. What can you say about Interlagos other than the people of Brazil love motorsports? So it makes a fun track, it makes a challenging track. It's a track that I think everyone knows and loves, yourself included, as you've said. So I'm curious to see how the drivers handle it. We've got a big grid today, which I know that we'll go over in a bit. 44 cars with a mix between the GT3s and Hypercars. Pretty well even, half the grid Hypercar, half the grid GT3. So I think the name of the game, as we discussed, is going to be traffic. I do see some split axle tire strategies on the Hypercars. I see some Hypercars going with hard front tires and medium rear tires. So I'm curious to see if strategy becomes a factor for some of these guys. 90 minutes is going to go quick, but I think the action's going to be fast, thick, and there's going to be some sort of drama between a GT3 and a Hypercar.
Oh, absolutely. I don't doubt that one as well for 1 minute. Welcome in to the booth there as well. Go, 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 Vinicius Concalves, said Escafil Sanfrey there as well. Craig, good luck. Oh, gutted, I'm missing the race. Stacey's in as well. 2025, watch out because there's going to be a Lambo GT3 in the field. Mine. Oh, dear. Well, we'll see how that one goes. Can we get to the end of the NARS season, Stacey, please, and see how you're doing that? Come on. Let's get to the end of that one as well beforehand. So much love to you all. Don't forget, like, subscribe, turn on the bells, no matter what channel you're on, whether or not you're on JBB or whether you're on CMS. That would be absolutely amazing again as well. So, Brad, when we talk about Interlagos as a circuit, right, you know, this track is about as old as Paul. He's, you know, from 1940, right? Let's be real about it. And it's been through so many changes, so many track layouts. It's just evolved with its time, and it's still one of the all-time classic tracks, isn't it? It's incredible.
There's nothing about this track that you can't not like. I phrased that poorly, but I hope that everyone at home knows what I mean. This track is just one that you have to like, regardless of what car comes here, whether it's Formula One, which I know is what most people think of when they look at this. Of course, you know, stock cars have raced here because that is a big thing with Brazil. The WEC has came here, TCRs have been here, motorcycle racing is here, Nissan has had the World Series here in 2002. Little side one-off there as I look at my stat sheet and my facts. It's a track that just presents good challenges and good racing regardless of what car comes here, because it's got it all. It's got tricky technical middle sectors. It's got just rapid fire front stretch that you just go flat out. It's got hard braking into turn one. It's got downhill braking, uphill braking, sideways braking if you're really unlucky and your name's Daniel Ricciardo. It's a track that pretty well just holds true, and it's a good challenge all the way around, and you can't just come in and say, well, my car's good at high downforce, my car's good at low downforce, so I'll be fine this section, not this section. You got to be well-rounded as a driver and just know what you're doing all the way around to make this track work.
Yeah, I agree, and I think for anybody out there as well that's followed Formula One, you know, this has been going basically since 1973. The first official Formula One race was actually, I believe it was 11th of February 1973, and it was won by Emerson Fittipaldi. So it was a hometown hero win on the opening race as well. The cars are getting onto the grid. Let's have a look at the grid now as well, as we just saw it briefly flash up. In first place is Robin Molin. In second would be Dan Kirby. Tom Lane in third, and then Ernest Bernardo is in fourth place. And then behind that is Ben Kesby, Mike Bell, Timon Suvic, and Luke Mitchell, bringing up row number 4. That's something we can look forward to there as well. On row 5 is Dan Scott with Cameron Barker, and on row 6 is Wouter de Bruin and Magnus Dahlgren. Going on to 13th is Yuki Takanashi with Scar Pope. And then row 8 is Troy Uyan, John's younger son, as we know, with Jerry Chen in 16th place, bringing to the end of row 8. John Meyer in with Brian Hall alongside him. Luke Goodlife alongside that with John Uyan down in 20th. So you can look out for John coming through the field. Then we've got Jason Whitehead, Gangan Dev, Vinicius Concalves down in 23rd, and Norm Graff in 24th place. We've got 25 hypercars because George Angelidis is bringing up the final one there. Then we've got William Schittling in the GT3, David Jun and Eduardo Benica. Eduardo coming off his win at the Glen, of course. So look forward to seeing him. Johnny Gutierrez and JT Tammy with Matthew Overton and Mark Sumperlap rounding out the 32. On from 32nd place, we have got Matthew Brice, Jaime Selecki, Ross Smith, and Mike down in 37th there of the Voices. In 37th is Gilles Lalonde with James Walker down there on 38th, and Stephen Miller and Stephen Boyce in 40th place. Sorry, I should say. Going on is Pierre Moreno with Josh Lepetri and Carl Struhel with Dan Herlock in 44th place at the back. That's an interesting development there as well. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that one and see how it goes here. But thanks so much for joining us as the cars do come around their pace lap at this moment in time as well. They have come down down, I think that's turn number 4 they are on their right round, which is going to lead them up into the Ferradora, which will be turn 6, and then turn 7, which is Lara Nahara coming into SA, which is this turn 8 here. This right-hander, you're going to look for the curb on the right-hand side to help with the rotation. Then you go around Penorino, which is the left-hander here, and then on that run up into Bico de Pado, which is the right-hander at the top of the hill. You aim it basically at a tree. Where you get your braking points. It's on the left-hand side there. Hit your braking point, and then you'll be able to get the car slowed down as well. So go around Bico de Pado, and then just to top it off as well, you go around the left-hander of Mugello, which is this fast left-hander. You can take it at pace before you come into the hard braking area of Junção. You've got to get that car through the gears and get it down, probably into second or third. You'll open up the surface on the right-hand side of your screen, or left-hand side as you're looking at it now. You'll go onto that little bit of a cobblestone, and then you'll hit the inside, bang, let it drift out onto the outside just to take some of the curb on the right hand side, and then that's it. Full flat up through St. Domingo de boxes, up through turn 14, turn 15, and then over the start line. But ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your hats, get your drinks, get your popcorn. Robert Molin's going to lead us away. Dan Kirby's going to be in second. Tom Lane's going to be in third. Then Ernest Bernardo, Ben Kesby, Mike Bell, Timon Suvic, Luke Mitchell, and Dan Scott will be in ninth. It's going to be all green very shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the 90 minutes of Sao Paulo, and we are going to be, I should believe, we should be green, and we are. Robert Molin takes the lead as he comes down through the center S into turn 1, which is the left hand who's going to look left, then right. In the bottom right hand corner you have got the GT3s. Round he goes on that run now, down the Red Raposta, down into the hard braking zone at the bottom, and he has done an absolute flyer. In the GT3s it's William Schittling leading us away. He's gone over the line and he's going to be green here as well. And we're going to be up and running very, very shortly here. So we'll keep an eye and see how the GT3s get on once more as they're flying again. So great start from some there, Brad. And everybody got away cleanly by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's a long orange zone here, which I don't think we touched on early on, but it's an orange zone all the way through turn 11 down to turn 12. So everybody should be on their P's and Q's through the beginning of this race for the most part. As of course, remember the orange zone just means that if something happens in those early moments, you're going to be penalized very, very heavily for it if you are at fault. Passing is permitted, but it's heavy penalties compared to the rest of the race. There are no red zones here, thankfully, so everyone away pretty well. It does look like up here in the hypercar category, everybody's gotten away for the most part and settling in. 90-minute race is very, very quick here. It's going to move very, very fast. The last 90-minute race we had was the 90 minutes at Spa, and if you remember, everybody pretty well came out of the gate swinging. They were very quick, very much ready to go. Nobody held back anything, and really here at Sao Paulo, I would be surprised if anyone holds on here and holds back. Tom Lane very quick here under the gun, trying to get things moving, and this is going to be the main passing zone, I believe. The main straight down into turn 1 here, James. Deep on the brakes goes Tom Lane, up the inside, pretty as you please, and good pass to the inside of turn 1, defend through turn 2, and then just keep it going.
You see Tom Lane got the job done there over Dan Kirby into the center S's, and now's got the run out down the Red Raposta. He's absolutely flying, coming down into turn 4 as well. There's Mike Bell behind him. These guys again. Mike's crawling all over the back of Ernest Bernardo at this moment in time, and Mike's trying to get through as they're on their way up into the Ferradora. The right hand looking for the late apex there as well. Up over the hill we go, coming down into SA. The right hander again looking at the curb on the right hand side. There is a little dip there that you can help with a rotation. Left hand around through Pinarino and then up into Pico de Pado. As I say, on the right hand side there was a tree behind there, and then back down into the GT3s. We're on board with David Schunt, who has got Eduardo Benica tucked up right behind him at the moment as well, and you can see that Benica is doing a great job keeping David Schunt honest here, putting pressure on him all the while at the same time. Brad doing an absolute stellar job.
Yeah, and that's going to be the key to the race. It's going to be just keep that consistent pressure as you move through here. David Schunt is a driver that knows very well how to do that and keep things moving, and Benica is just sort of setting in the slipstream. You've just got to keep up there with Schlichting, and you need to just keep things together. And, of course, the Bice family back in the GT3 AMS, they'll be looking to do something similar as well, as we see Bice and Mike Bice there battling it out in the GT3 AMS. That is going to be Matt Bice with Mike Bice that is battling through. We come across the line. I see some sort of advertising board on the main straight there. Hopefully that won't affect anyone as we continue around here. Mike Bell in 4th place in the hypercars, just trying to hold back Bernaldo and staying nice and smooth. Hypercars are not spreading out like I thought they would. I thought we would see more of a gap open up here, but they have kept things very nice and together as it goes.
Yeah, we've got no major dramas. However, Scott Pope has just taken a trip off the side there. Mike Bell trying to chase down on Dan Kirby. Kirby's letting Lane get away up front. Kirby is in the Porsche 963 this time out as well. As he goes over the line, Mike's going to take the inside line over Dan Kirby. Gets the job done. Well done, Mike. All done and dusted. Mike goes up into 2nd place there with Dan Kirby in 3rd. Ernest Bernardo coming behind him in 4th. So we'll have a look here as well. Robert Molin has gone through at the moment on that one. So, and we will let you know what it is. It isn't any penalty at the moment because he's not on there to have one. Dan Herlock's got one for no qualifying in Spa. Then Jascha Schmidt stop and hold for 20 seconds as well. Then Mikael Dino, Jelly Hilning, Golan Bank, and Tony McCoffin has got one there. George DNF'd. George Angelidis out?
George Angelidis has DNF'd. I hear Paul in my ear yelling, ooh, and I'm going to guess this is a big replay here. George Angelidis coming down into turn 1, going down the main straight, and the advertising board. I think, yeah, the advertising board just, wow.
Killed him.
He is... Wow. Yeah. So you can see there on the left-hand side, that little bit of red sticking up is the advertising board I mentioned a couple laps ago. And it looks like George's car just hooks in and go. So it wasn't the advertising board. Is that just a gap in the track? That was...
Well, whatever it was literally just killed George Angelidis. We are coming through traffic. Our leader, Tom Lane, is slicing through them as well. We can have a look on board with Tom. It is very, very tricky coming in up here into the Ferradora, and Tom's doing an absolute stellar job as we're just going to have a look back again. This was Dan Kirby, I believe. And Cameron Barker having his own little moment, and around he goes there as well, unfortunately for him. But I can tell you one thing, Tom is literally slicing his way through this traffic, Brad. This track ain't very wide, it's not a massive circuit, and at the end of the day, we're hoping, they get it through all cleanly. You can see Ernest Bernardo going through behind us on the long, wide picture we had there as well. Very tricky for these guys, but this is going to be every single lap now, isn't it?
Yeah, once this happens, it's done for the rest of the race. It's going to be nothing but lap traffic battles and battles in class. I mean, this is the point where this is going to feel a lot like earlier in the season when we were at Imola. I mean, this is going to be where you've really just got to shut down
again
to watch contact. I mean, man.
Ernest Bernardo, isn't it? And Timo Tsuvic with Luke Mitchell in there, having a right little dong-dong. So we're going to have to keep an eye on these ones. They're going around GT3s. They have gone 2-3 wide there as well. I believe Timo Tsuvic is having a right little ding-dong here with Ernest Bernardo, who is alongside GT3s at the moment. He's got Magnus Dahlgren behind him. He's got Dan Scott in front of him. Scott's got Mitchell. There's Kesby there as well. And we'll have a look at Wouter de Bruin. It looks like he's just got it tangled up with a GT3. And around he goes. Is he in that Peugeot 9X8? He is in that one, the Wouter de Bruin as well. So he's changed cars at the same time here.
Yeah, how many drivers brought their lawn chairs today, James? How many drivers brought the lawn chairs to sit on the side of the circuit? Because I have a feeling that this is probably going to be several DNFs. So we have a GT3 that's off the screen. I can't tell who that is, but somebody running very, very wide out of the final corner, out of turn 14, and just kind of saying, you know what, I want no part of that, and I'm just going to go. Look at this. Hypercars battling Ernest Bernardo there. A little bit of contact as they try to get around. I believe that is one of the Bice brothers going through. I don't remember if they're actually brothers, and I'll continue to say that every day. So.
Yeah. So some great action taking place early on here as well, and it's been very, very messy. There's been Gilles Lalonde's been off the side of the circuit. Mike Bell's been off the side of the circuit behind him as well. He got it all wrong going into Junção. He went backwards, did Mike Bell at one point going into Junção. So unfortunately for Mike, it's all gone a little bit Pete Tong. Tom Lane has taken the lead now. Dan Kirby still sitting in second, but for how much longer? He's got Luke Mitchell and Ben Kesby crawling all over him. Troy Uyan here, John Uyan's younger boy, is just, he got it sideways, managed to hold on to it, and unfortunately for Troy at the moment, he is down in 13th with Scar Pope from the Hypercar AMS pressurising him here as well. A lot of action going on. I can tell you one thing, Mike Bell's going to be absolutely kicking himself going backwards around Junção.
Absolutely. Mike Bell is not going to be happy with the situation he's found himself in here, dropping down into 8th and continuing to move around. And big shout out to Mr. Paul behind the scenes here, bringing the camera actions in and keeping eyes on what I am sure is an absolutely chaotic track as we go through here. Big
yeah, there's the GT3. Watch Mike Bell. Mike's there. If you go back and have a look at Mike's incident, you see him come hurtling in like an absolute banshee backwards. So that was the incident with the Mustang GT3. There you go. He goes into Junção, and the Mustang's in front of us at the moment as well. There it is there, just gone round us. So both of them got it absolutely, completely Pete Tong there, and they end up going down. I believe that was Gilles Lalonde. It was Gilles Lalonde in that Mustang. He got it just deep, sent in completely deep. Yeah, and then there's, unfortunately for them, it's all a little bit messy. So Brian Hall, Vinicius Goncalves, Wout de Bruin, John Uyan have all a little bit of problems, and Gagan Def has DNF'd, I believe. He went into the pits and didn't come back out, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he just goes straight into the... Yeah, so we think Gagan has DNF, but we're not entirely 100% sure, as the timing software having a little bit of a moment. Troy Uyan on your screen at this moment in time as well. He's sitting in 12th place in class now, moved up one as he goes around the GT3 there, Brad. Getting a little bit messy up front. You can pick up, if you pick up on Mike Bell, Mike's in the mix with Gilles Lalonde. There's a big collision, turn one. Oh! Who is that in the black machine? Was that Dan? No, it can't have been Dan Herlock. That was Robin Molin, and then another incident down at turn one. So Robin's having a bit of a rough one at the moment. There's more. All cars off the next set of corners there as well. See them on, it's just all going a little bit off here at the moment, Brad.
Yeah, I think this is going to be just the story of our lives for the next hour and 17 minutes here, James. It's very... You've got drivers that are... Okay, big slide there from Robin Molling. Catches it back through, but man... Yeah, I don't really know what to say about it. I mean, you're trying to fight traffic, you're trying to fight the car, you're trying to fight your class. I mean, there's a case of I don't really know what to do here.
John Mayer, I don't know if Paul can pick up on John Mayer, but he has just been absolute clattered by a GT3 going around the Cigo de Largo. It is just unbelievable. I don't know who the Porsche was. I'm going to try and find out. There's more contact with GT3s in the Aston Martin there as well with David Junt. It is just absolutely incredible at the moment that these guys are having so much trouble with traffic. David Junt got himself caught up into one. JT Tammy as well. But there was a really big moment there for John Mayer, and I'm trying to find out who the Porsche is. 911 as I have a quick scour through. Pierre Moreno. It is Pierre Moreno with John Mayer, and they have a... Well, Pierre almost looks like he just turns into John there, Brad, and spins his back end round.
Yeah, you know, I talked about it a little bit with Imola, and I'm going to talk about it again. Some of these tracks are just very hard, and I know that this is meant to be one-to-one to the real-life calendar, but some of these tracks in the sim world are just extremely difficult, and it's one of those that... This is challenging for the size of the track and just for how things go and how aggressive the drivers are with the netcode as we get a replay here on screen. And this is going to be down into turn one.
Yeah, this is where it all kicks off. He goes round, Smith voids him. I think it's Scott's actual rejoin. He doesn't know where to go. And then everybody just piles in behind him. Poor Dan Scott's stuck there going, I don't know where to go, I don't know where to go. And he literally had nowhere to go. There was just cars all around him. People sliding coming into the corner. Jerry Chen got himself caught up. The Boys has got himself caught up as well. There was so much going on because Scott didn't know what to do. He didn't know whether to stay, he didn't know whether to move, he didn't know whether to back up, go forward. It was all very much to me, to you, to me, to you, to me, to you there, Brad.
Well, I can tell you one thing he shouldn't have done was probably pull forward into the racing line. That's just my opinion, though. But it's also...
I think, though, that when you look at it, if we can pick up on the initial incident with Scott, you will look at the carnage it has caused. And even that blue one, who is that blue machine? He literally was holding his brakes and he still got clattered into because it's flat out blind. When you go around that corner, you can't see Jack. Watch Scott's reaction. So that's Robert Moling off again. Do you know the weirdest thing about this, Brad? I've seen this before with drivers, right? They're incredibly quick, but they can't handle the car. And it looks like Robin's just making a mistake after mistake after mistake. Tom Lane here with Dan Kirby going down into the turn 1 before they go around the left-hander, then the right-hander of the center S's. Dan Kirby does take the lead there as well. Tom Lane now got to sit in second place again, but for how much longer as they're on their way down the Red Reposta? And see how these guys battle it out. You can see the guys on the screen there as well. 2 Porsche 963s hurtling down into the left-hander of Delago. Now they're going to go rushing up the hill into the Ferradoro, the left-hander. Opening run. Is it going to Tom Lane going to be able to get the inside this time? He's not looking like he's going to be close enough. Onto the nose of Lane down in the bottom right-hand corner. Round Laranahara we go into the SA. Dan Kirby got the job done and stays in front there as well. But Robin Molin got pace for days, but got no control, and he needs to slow that down. There's no point being Max Verstappen if you're driving like Nikita Mazepin.
Nikita Mazepin. That's a good one there, James. But yeah, no, like it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. And shout out to whoever that Mercedes is getting off of the road and out of the way. But I do agree with you. There is sort of there's no sense in driving 100% if you can't handle 100% for 90 minutes. This is endurance, and I know you, me, and Mr. George Angelides have had a conversation about kind of, you know, in endurance racing, there's a little bit different of a mindset. It's not drive the fastest every single lap. You've got to drive a little bit to a delta, a little bit to a strategy. And I think that with the 90 minutes, I said nobody was going to hold back, but I think Robin Molling heard that and said, all right, foot flat to the floor, don't care about tires, don't care about anything. And, you know, for Robin, needs to reel back that 5% and recover back, because now he's back at P13 overall and is continuing to drop back. And so needs to just reel it back a little.
Yeah, he basically has been, he did it again up through SA. And he got it all wrong. Goodlife goes deep into turn 1. I can't see if he hits the barrier, but I'm going to presume by that puff of smoke there may have been some good contact. But Robert Molin gets it wrong again behind the GT3 going up into SA. You know, you can't keep getting it wrong, right? You, as I said, you can have pace for days and a rich oil daddy, but if you can't drive it properly, you might as well sit in a Haas, because it is just absolutely crazy, and all you're doing is just risking your own race as well as everybody else around you.
Yeah, it's very, very hard, and the thing is, 90 minutes here, John Mayer here having...
No, look, that's Pierre Moreno. That's what I was talking about earlier on with Pierre Moreno. Absolutely turns in way too early, doesn't even hear a spotter, and just goes, thanks very much, son. You know what I mean? If you're on single screens, I get it. Look left, look right, there's buttons. You can go and have a look. You know, gee, that's as Zach would say, that's single IQ digit racing right there.
Yeah, you're not wrong here, and this is a replay here. This is Daniel coming through, and what happens here? Oh, lucky the GT3 kept it straight there. And again, just another moment where I think the drivers need to...
That's Robert Molin. That was Robert Molin again. In the number 37 machine was Robert Molin. This is in the ongoing issues. The 37 machine on the left-hand side, if you have a look, is actually Robert Molin, and I believe it was him who was involved in that incident there as well. But, you know, there's just lots of things going on here, but you've got to get it right. You know, Norm Graf's been off the side of the circuit. Vinicius Goncalves coming down into turn 1, missing his braking point, going off again. Luke Goodlife having another moment going up into SA as well. However, he does get absolutely clattered by the 03 machine there as well. I'm not going to show you who that was behind him, but somebody absolutely clattered Goodlife there, as we got Josh Lepetri just doing some wonderful pirouette ballerina style. Around he goes. So yeah, there's a lot going on, but unfortunately there is so much happening. There's Robert Molin in the 37 machine, which is obviously, I think he's going to call it a day. I wouldn't be surprised on that one. He has had a dreadful day. So yeah, that he goes off as well. But I think it was after that, Mr. Goodlife had another incident, and Molin misses on the GT3, can't get the car stopped, off he goes, misses brake point, indecision whether or not to take the inside or outside. You know, you've got to make these decisions early. The GT3s are going to wash out, and then obviously Dan Lepetri, or Josh Lepetri, having another moment where he's overcooked it and he's gone straight off at turn 1 as well. So and then George is back on the race circuit as well. So we'll get back to live racing in a minute as well, as these guys continue to fight it out there as well. And then Luke Goodlife gets an absolute clatter. There you go. Right up the rear end there as well. So, yeah. And then,
I mean, Jason Whited here coming through. James, we could go through replays all day.
Yeah, I think we need to
struggle.
Yeah, let's get back to the live action. There's so much going on. We could just have a whole replay broadcast here as well. If we can get back on to the live pictures. We've got Dan Kirby still absolutely flying out in front at this moment in time, doing a great job at mixing it in there as well. There's been Pierre Moreno and George Angelidis again having more of an issue. Scar Pope leading the hypercar rounds, William Schlittling leading the LMGT3s, and Boyce leading the GT3 AMs there as well. So there's action all the way through, Brad, but we did kind of predict that this would happen, right? We did say once they start overtaking GT3s, they're going to be doing it every single lap. And are we looking at the people that are going to survive are the people that are going to manage traffic? Because there's been some big names that have gone off the side of the circuit.
I think that is the big key. It's a little bit of luck, it's a little bit of skill, and it's a lot of traffic management here as we jump in up front here. Ernest Bernaldo going around the outside there and trying to make that stick and not able to make it stick there with Mike Bell, so having to slide back in behind Bell. But I think really the key to this race is patience. And that's been the big thing. Don't find yourself randomly getting tapped in the rear or tapping a GT3. You want to make sure that you're getting passes done cleanly, you're setting things up here, and I think for the GT3s, you got to remember you're not a hypercar. You don't have the power, you don't have the traction that a hypercar has. You need to dial it back in and drive to your limits, because some of the GT3 errors we've seen are people just completely forgetting how to brake in a GT3 car.
Yeah, let's get back up on the lead. Kirby and Lane are running down the start-finish line. They are going past a back marker there as well. Kirby's on the left. Lane's looking up the inside. Thought about it. Didn't quite get it done. That's Luke Mitchell behind him, I believe. Behind that as well. That is a lapped hypercar. But these guys going down the red Aposta now. Dan Kirby in the red. Tom Lane in the purple. Then we got Luke Mitchell in the red and yellow. As you're going down into Decido de Lado and up the hill here. These three having a right little ding-dong. We are expecting pit stops very, very shortly, I would have thought, as well for these hypercars. So do you go in together? Do you overcut? Do you undercut? Do you sit back and think, I've just got to cover him off? I've got a long race. I'm covering him off. There's still one more pit stop to go.
I think the key is going to be do what the person around you does. If Dan Kirby pits in, if I'm Landon Mitchell, I'm going in same time. There's no sense in trying to run an overcut or undercut game right now. The second pit stop, I might say something different, but I think as of right now, just do what the person around you does. As we see absolute chaos here as we go through. Lalonde is going to have a moment there. That's one of the biases that tapped him, it looks like, and Lalonde going around there in the Mustang trying to get it back going, and looks like back with not too many issues. Dan Kirby there around the inside of one of the Aston Martin GT3s, and they continue around down the main straight, but you could see Dan Kirby with a very good run has managed to pull the gap to a second, but how long will that gap stay there? Well, we'll see how quick he can navigate the next GT3.
Is this literally, are we sitting here watching a traffic management race where Kirby's managing it as Kirby does, right? He's like the Iceman. He's like Kimi Räikkönen. And when I talk to him, the guy might as well just be laid down vertical. He's that laid back about it. Yeah, I was in the Porsche this week. I went to the Isotta last week. I was in the Lamborghini the week before that. You know, I was just testing the cars, really. You know, he doesn't care. He just drives, and he does it so well. But his management is so well. You very rarely see him. I can't even remember an incident where he was involved with something, to be blatantly honest. But there's just, is this a lesson? Is this a Dan Kirby lesson there as well? I think we've got Dan Scott and Robert Moling have got the same livery and the same number, if I'm not mistaken. So just to obviously let you know in the background there. Yeah, so we go, you know, so there are two cars out there as well, so bear with us on that one, guys. But Dan Kirby, he can write a book. He could do an educational lesson. He could go there and just say, guys, this is how you do it. it doesn't matter if Tom Lane gets within half a second. Well, Kirby's going to go into the pits now. Lane's in the pits. The top three have all gone in together there. That's is that Robert Molin now back into fourth, which I'm very, very shocked about. But I believe Dahlgren's gone in, Bell's gone in, Herlock's gone in, Cameron Barker's gone in, Ernest Bernardo's gone in. So that's possibly why he's up there. And I don't believe he's pitted yet, Brad, either. But Kirby just might as well write a book and say to them, this is how you do it. Because he is a nice man at it.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a bad decision from Kirby at all. And I think that's the big thing is level head, working your way through traffic can sometimes be what makes or breaks things as we go up here. The top four all in the pits here, Mulling up into fourth, hadn't pit yet. And is in, we'll see how that goes. Wouter de Bruin is in as well. So we'll see here as the top three go through. Kirby's out first. I do see there no big issues.
Kesby's not far. Kesby's not far. You're going to see Kesby come in there. He's on the left-hand side now. Kirby's got the pit lane run, but Kesby does manage to hold him to a gap of about 1.9, 1.8. Is it something like that currently at the moment? So Kesby there was almost, but he did jump the likes of Luke Mitchell. He did jump Brian Hall, Dan Herlock. Mike Bell's had a what can only be described as an absolute shocking pit stop. He's all the way down in 7th, is Mike currently, and has got a bunch of traffic in front of him. You know, you've got to look at the hindsight there as well. Now, I can't tell you if that's Dan Scott or Robert Molin, but I think Dan Scott has gone round there as well, unfortunately, once again, and moved again. Can we get that again? Because I missed that GT3. We'll try and have a look and see if Mike Price there, I believe, was involved with that one. But these are. Do you know what? It's really weird, right? I've gone on holiday last time out. I've come back, and it's looked like some of these have forgotten what they're doing. There's so many schoolboy errors. And I've got a funny feeling that some of these just need to relax. Yes, it's Sao Paulo. Yes, it's fast. Yes, it's an amazing circuit. But you ain't all Ayrton Senna. You know what I mean? Come on, think realistically. Drive within your ability. And if you're overcooking it going into the corner and you've done it and you've gone off at turn one, extend your braking point a bit. Come on, boys. Come on. There's been so many problems.
Yeah, I think as the GT3 lead starts up here, this is Schlichting and Benica that are battling here for the GT3 overall, and these two are managing well. They're not overdriving their cars, and it's paying off dividends for them. They're doing well of making sure they're not problems for these hypercars, but the hypercar drivers, I don't know what it is. I don't know if they missed practice. I don't know if it's just everybody's decided to take a while off and not drive in a minute. I don't know if everybody's just been way too excited about the historic series and they just remember how to drive those cars, which is drive it fast, drift it through the corner. If you find yourself going hard enough right, you'll go left. Doc Hudson style. I don't know what it is here, but I mean, the hypercar drivers are really, really worrying me. Guys, you still have another hour you've got to survive. Let's dial it back about 5%, please, and just get to the end. Remember, you got to finish. You have to finish to have points here as we watch this GT3 battle continue, and there is a hypercar that's getting ready to start making their way through. It's amazing to me. The GT3s are driving this track better than the hypercars have been at all. This entire race has just been a hypercar wreckfest, and the GT3s have just been pretty as you please.
Yeah, I think that's the scary thing. You know, we've got the GT3. I'm almost now petrified for the GT3 leaders because you've got these hypercars coming through and they're not predictable. You cannot. I am the biggest defender of hypercars and LMPs and stuff like that overtaking GT3s when GT3s aren't predictable. But you can't even say that about this race. You can't say the GT3s aren't being predictable. You can say the hypercars aren't the ones being predictable because there's just silly mistakes. And George is going to come off this. If he ain't got more grey hair or no hair by the time he's watched this back, I would be very, very surprised for George Antonides because we know how passionate that man gets about his racing. And some of this has just been go-karting. It's just been really, really bad. But look, we'll stop bashing the guys that were driving around now. We've got Dan Kirby out in front in the Hypercar Pros with Kesby 3.7 back. That happened in the pit lane. Kirby went and jumped around there as well. Jaime Sadecki's gone off, goes end up backwards, and he parks it on the inside of the apex there as well. Stays where he is, which is good. Everybody else gets through, and then when possible, Jaime goes and gets himself out of the way. So Kirby's out in front with Kesby, got it in front of the pit stop. Kesby couldn't really have an answer. Scar Pope's leading the Hypercar rounds by about 12 seconds, done absolutely incredible. Scar Pope led from pretty much around the beginning. Schlittling and Benica, they're having a good old little Barney. I do love Benica as well, coming off the fresh of his win at Watkins Glen in the GT3's absolutely flying. And then down in the Hypercar ARMS, it's Matthew Boyce with Pierre Moreno, who's been involved in his own little ta-ta-tas with LMPs there as well. We've got a replay on the screen at this moment in time, and this is Norm Graff going down into turn one. We think Norm has parked it after this one as well, so he goes round, rolling, hold you. Just stay still.
Man.
And then he parks it in the pits.
And
so there you go.
Yeah, and for those of you at home who this may be your first time watching me and James do the VWSC Modern, you hear a little bit of feistiness in both of our voices on the driving characteristics. And if you're not as familiar with racing at like a high caliber level, you might be saying, well, what's the big deal? They're just trying to get out of the way, or they're trying to get off the racetrack. Hold your brakes, people. That is a fundamental rule. If you spin your car, you hold the brakes until it's safe to do so. So sometimes that means just sitting still for a moment in the middle of turn one. And yes, it is scary at first, but what is scarier is when you're trying to roll into the racing line and somebody comes around and just clobbers the side of your car. And that is really the scarier part, because you've not ruined your day, you ruined someone else's day because you just didn't wait the extra second. Give up the position to keep racing the other 57 minutes here as we watch this battle with Luke Mitchell, who is 1.8 seconds back from Kesby.
Yeah, 1.5 at the moment, give or take, 1.6 there. Ross Smith is having a right little ding-dong as well. That's with David Junt side by side round at the final corner, down through the pit lane. There's another number board. We saw what that did as well. Here we go. Ross on the left-hand side in the NSX. There's a Hypercar around the outside. And Ross holds on. There's a big old dive. Oh, he's coming from... Oh, my dearie Jesus. Oh, my God. David Junt absolutely flew. Ross broke so early. He was almost burgled before he even got in the corner. David Junt had that job done, got the move done in turn one, was more comfortable on the brakes, absolutely killed it in that Acura NSX. Ross not looking comfortable at this moment in time though either, Brad.
I don't know why Ross hit the brakes so early. I don't know what he was thinking there. I don't know if he was just kind of hanging out or what this was. Is Troy Uyan here. This is the battle in Hypercar going through, and Troy Uyan having the friend of Yuki Takanashi.
Tom.
No, that is actually Tom. I'm sorry.
Gee whiz, Tom Lane.
Drivers are...
I tell you what, he forced that. Tom had his elbows out, and I don't know whether or not he knew he had to get past Troy there as well. The problem was Troy was so indecisive. He didn't know whether to cover the inside, keep it in the middle, not expecting. You give a racing driver a sniff, and he's going to go for it, right? You know what I mean? Let's be real about it. And this is the problem you've got. You've got to be consistent on what you're doing. You cannot half defend, half leave the door, decide what's going to happen, not really sure, what do I do? And then Tom Lane goes... See you later, son. You want to doodle around. I'm going to have that inside line. I'm going to take it away. And off he goes. Tom Lane now puts himself up into 6th and is trying to get onto the back of Mike Bell. Mind you, there's about, I believe, it's about 5 seconds from Mike Bell to Tom Lane at the moment. 5.6 seconds. So Tom's got a big old job to try and do. Kesby Kirby back down to half a second.
Yeah, this gap going through... JT Tammy has not pit yet. He's leading GT3s. You can see the gap is 57 seconds to JT Tammy. So just keep in your head if you're watching, JT Tammy has yet to pit. The same with James Walker has yet to pit through. So that's why the GT3s are such a large gap. I would imagine as soon as JT Tammy, well, before I can finish my sentence. JT Tammy into the pits, so that gap will right itself, and we'll get a good idea of where the GT3s are actually at here. As we watch David Junt coming around here, and the hypercars in the mix as well, going around. I mean, this is just, as a hypercar, you've just got to breathe a little bit, and it sucks following the GT3s through this middle sector, but that's the best you can do at this point. You've got to just hang out. And, you know, sometimes it leads to a little bit of problems, like you get Kesby catching Kirby here. I mean,
that was,
man.
Do you know the scariest thing about that? That was Pierre Moreno behind, and obviously we've seen Pierre be involved with his own little ta-ta-ta with Gilles Lalonde. You know, he ain't afraid of turning in on him early. You know, and Kesby, you've got to, I know there's risk it for a biscuit, and I know he's got to, this is the problem. And you at home, if you're sitting there as well thinking, what? When you're the following car and you're battling for the lead, as Dan Kirby slices through traffic now, I believe that might be Mr. Smith. I know him, yeah, Ross Smith in the middle there. When you're battling for the lead like Kesby is, and he can see Kirby braking and he can see Mitchell coming up behind him, his mindset is, I've got to get past, I've got to get past, I've got to get past. And he does some crazy Houdini, Harry Potter movers. You know, you've got to think, come on, the GT3s are going to wash out. We know this. We learned this. We've bred this. We've driven this over this whole season. Why risk it for a biscuit on the outside? Let them wash out. Take the inside line. Kesby's now got to come back, but he has got cars in front of him, and he has got Luke Mitchell closing in at an upward rate or not. So JT Tammy's in it as well. There's a lot going on here, Brad. If people manage to survive, there's somebody on the grass as well, and this is just insane. If people survive this without having a major park up, I'd be very surprised.
Here's the thing, if there's 5 minutes left to go in the race and you're carving your way through traffic and you're 2 seconds off from the win, like right now, if we were 5 minutes to go and Kesby and Kirby are where they're at, and Kesby is just absolutely ripping and romping and running around cars, I would understand that, because Kesby is right there in the mix for the win and is trying to get up there for the win. We're 52 minutes to go. There is no sense in stuff like that, in my opinion. Just settle it in, guys. Settle it in and let it go. We saw it at Imola. Everyone got antsy and racy on a very narrow technical track, and it led to just carnage every corner. And it feels like that's exactly where we're at here as we go down the straight. With Kesby going around a GT3 here. Now I think Kesby will have a little bit more breathing room for the moment, until he comes up on another car.
Yeah. We said, and we've said, it's going to be every single lap. Every single lap. Even the out there, hold your brakes. He's put, aren't you supposed to raise your hand, start waving and screaming? What the? Well, we are, but I am, and you can't see it. So it's probably good on that one. As I've pointed at the screen many times. Many times, yeah, him and Bez Kesby look like they've just went off the side of the circuit there. That was very bizarre for me. Wout de Bruin has had a moment going around in center S's. He's got him come around the exit, completely missed it there as well. Cameron Barker is spun round. George Angelidis is out of the pits. So there's more little incidents going on, you know, and let's get back, and hopefully Kesby can make this a 2-horse race going right at the beginning as we go on to a replay there.
Yeah, this is Cameron Barker spinning, and again, just gets it around, gets it off the racing line, and then clutch kick it back through and get it going again. That stays out of the racing line, out of the way, loses a couple places, but that's a good way to get it back around and get going. 50 minutes left to go here, James. We're not even half race distance yet. We're not even half race distance, and this is kind of where we're at. And is it getting a little dark? There's no rain in the forecast, right? We have a nice
Brazil, mate. It's Brazil. I mean, it's literally got its own climate.
I hope there's no rain here, as we have a Ross Smith with Overton, and yeah, I don't know what it is. It seems like it got dark to me for a second, and Ross Smith is struggling. I don't know what it is.
He's got no choice but to struggle, right?
I mean, yeah.
You look at the hypercars going through. Look, when we just picked up on him, he was close to Matthew Overton. Now it's 2 seconds back. We've lost Stephen Miller as well, so we need to try and find out. Stephen went off, I believe, off the side of the circuit, absolutely careered the car there. I believe that's Troy Uyan. Yeah, Troy goes off and goes into the pits. Troy Uyan is DNF'd as well. Stephen Miller is coming. Well, Stephen Miller just looks like he's got a disconnected DNF'd away there as well, unfortunately. So yeah, there's been a lot of people in and out of this at the moment there, Brad, but let's see how they go on. 49 minutes to go. Scar Pope leading the Hypercar Rams. Dan Kirby leading the Hypercar Pros. Luke Mitchell's closing onto the back of Kesby, 1P3. David Junt has got 2.1 as well. And then obviously Timon Suvik currently at the moment has got Magnus Dahlgren, who's decided that he wants to get a piece of the action. And Magnus Dahlgren not far back, literally less than a second currently as well. So a lot going on here as well, and the battles down the GT3. Eduardo Benica and William Schickling are having a nice little ding-dong as well in the GT3s.
You know what's interesting to me, James, is the fact that we only have 4 DNFs out of 44 cars in almost half race distance, and all 4 of them, except for Stephen Miller, 3 of the 4 are hypercars, and then Stephen Miller in the GT3 AMs. So it's kind of interesting to see that is where we're at right now as we go through and we get this mixed action here. It's interesting to see all these battles happening through. It really doesn't matter where you're looking. There's a battle going somewhere for something, whether it's mixed class, whether it's 4 position, whether it's trying to get around lap traffic, whatever it may be. It's very interesting to see all of these battles through as we see the Hypercar Timon Suvik there going through. And now we jump up with P2 of Ben Kesby, who is 3.8 seconds off of Kirby. Kirby's managed to open up a little bit, no traffic around, and this is where Kesby needs to just hold off Mitchell as much as possible here for 47 minutes, which is, it's one thing for me and you in the booth to say it, but it's another to see it actually done.
And they've got another pit stop, if not 2 more.
Yeah, it's I think 2 more pit stops for the Hypercars, honestly. I don't think one more will do it. No,
I agree. They're not going to get there. Two more to go on that one as we got William and Schlickling down and Eduardo Benica still in this race as they're having a nice little ding-dong once again here and battling down in the GT3s, but they have got hypercars, so their battle sort of stagnates, then it gets feisty, then it stagnates. It's like almost if you compared it to a curry house, it gets to Vindaloo level, and then a hypercar comes through and it's nothing more than a korma. And that is what we've got at the moment here as well. They're at the Vindaloo stage, but the hypercars are coming through, and it will end up being nothing more than an Indian korma by the time of this as well. So yeah, great battles going on here as once more.
Yeah, and these battles are just going to keep going here. And this is Kesby is, you see, sliding around a little bit here, which is not what I expected here with Mitchell. And Kesby has a split axle. He's got hards on the front, mediums on the rear, and Luke Mitchell just has straight medium tires. As we see Mitchell up the inside here and trying to make it stick. Kesby's going to squeeze him to the inside there of the left-hander. They come around. Can they get things going? And it does look like at the moment Mitchell will make his way around Kesby. Kesby fights it back to the inside here. They continue on. Almost a little bit of a tap as we come up into the tricky technical middle section, and at the moment Kesby holding off Mitchell, but for how much longer? Because Mitchell is looking very, very feisty, and of course Ben Kesby has those hard tires on the front and the mediums on the rear. Now what does that mean? You may be asking, why would he have different tires? Well, the hard tires on the front axle are going to hold on a little bit better, and they're going to degrade a little bit slower, but you're going to have less grip. The medium tires on the rear axle are a little bit grippier, and it's going to give you a little bit more traction out of the corners through the corner on that rear end. So if you want a little bit more traction but you're not in the mood to change your downforce settings, that could be a good way to do it. And it seems like for Kesby that might be what he's trying to take advantage of, is just getting a little bit more out of those medium tires as he goes down into the straightaways and now into turn one. This is where those hard tires, they're not going to heat up and overheat, and you can put a little bit more into the car going through the corners and try to hold on to it. But you see again, he's still sliding a little bit, especially through turn 2 and 3.
Yeah, these are having a great little battle here as well. Kesby's not the only one that's trying this split strategy according to the RF2 itself. Jerry Chen I believe, is another. Cherry Chen is another one that is trying it there as well. As you can see down in the bottom right hand corner, that is Scott and John Uyan having a nice little tiny little bit of a ding dong going on once again. So some great action taking place with Kesby Mitchell top left, and then you've got Dan Scott and John Uyan in the bottom right. Let's not mistake Dan Scott's car for Robert Moling, who has also got the same number and livery, if I'm not mistaken. They're both at 37, yep, 037, and both in the same car livery. So, you know, that's not going to confuse us too much here. So let's see how we get on. Once again, we're coming into the last 40 minutes. There's going to be some action here with John Uyan, and he's trying to get Scott. Can't quite get him at the moment. And John has also got Yuki Takanashi locked up right behind him as well. So these three hypercars going for it once more. Further down, there's a couple of GT3s off in front of him at the moment as well. There's Gilles Lalonde and I believe Pierre Moreno coming down into turn number 4. Be careful, be careful, be careful here as these guys continue to fight it out.
Yeah, these fights are going to keep going all the way through. Look at this cluster here in the middle sector of the track. This is right around turn 10, turn 11 now they go through, and that is just a mess that is happening. And the more cars that come together in that sector, the more of a mess we're going to have here as we see Schlichting is continuing to just move through and put pressure around. There's a hypercar trying to get a little feisty, trying to go up the inside. I'm not sure who that was. Was that our race leader trying to go up the inside there and make a move, going around all the way through? Man, these cars are very feisty around.
Yeah, that's not Kirby. That is somebody else is also in that livery. Cameron Barker is also in the same livery as Kesby. There's David Shunt and William Schlichting are going down for it in the GT3s here as well, having a nice little battle. As I said, it will keep going and keep going and keep going. Eduardo Benitez involved. So these freeway GT3s here at the moment, Brad, could end up in a nice little tiny battle.
Yeah, and I think the big thing too is they're being consistent with their race. They're not the GT3s, as I said, they're being more smooth and consistent, and they're really just making the track their own. The hypercars, it feels like they started out very early over driving, and now that we're 40 minutes to go, it seems like they've all sort of reeled it in a little bit, if that makes sense. And as we've seen, I haven't seen anything too egregious happen in the last little bit. As we ride on board here in the bottom right hand corner, you've got that onboard shot. You can see just how tricky, how going through this track is. You know, most racetracks are going to be built on a fairly flat bit of ground, but not Interlagos. They built this just flat on the side of a hill. They just stuck it to the side of the hill and they said, you know what, drivers can figure this out, they'll be fine as we go through. Kesby's in the pits as we continue around here, and this is where things get interesting. The GT3s have made at least one stop, and I'm wondering when they're going to make another. When is the next pit stop due is really the big question for me.
Yeah, for the GT3s, I think probably within the next 15, maybe 20 minutes. They've got a big old tank on them. Hypercars are pretty much any time now leaning in, and then obviously maybe they might need to splash and dash by the end. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Pope's been in, Chen's in. So we're going to have to see how they get on here as well, Brad. I can see Cameron Barker is catching up to the back of Wouter de Bruin as the GT3s are still going on here as well. Wouter de Bruin has been off doing something unnecessary with himself, avoiding Ross. Is that Ross? Because there is another livery that looks exactly the same. Yeah, it is Smith there as well. I think the other livery's got a certain website on the side of their car as well. So, yeah.
Oh, Paul Glover in the ear. Yeah, I know everybody.
You know what? I don't know what it is with him today, but he is not stopped, has he?
I don't know what it is. He's having fun though. He's enjoying Interlagos. I think he's enjoying the chaos as we go through. He's enjoying this race, James. That's all it is. He's enjoying the race. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you all can't hear Paul, but Paul is really been enjoying this race. He's getting his money's worth today, that's for sure. This is a race that is keeping him nice and occupied. And the battle for P2 or GT3 overall is here on the screen. David Junt going through, dive up the inside, but blocked by the hypercar, and they go around. Now they're side by side through turn 2. Here we go. Where does this happen? And contact around.
Oh, more contact coming out the final tunnel. Down the run of Riposta they go. There's David Junt, William Schlittling, and Eduardo Benica. I'm trying to see which 37 that was. Was that Dan Scott? It was Dan Scott in front this time around. David Junt there, William Schlittling, and Benica. Benica is right behind Schlittling at the moment, and there is more hypercars coming through. Robert Moling is the car at the back end of this train as he's starting to go and look at coming up the inside past these GT3s that are having a right little ding dong. 2 Aston Martin, Schlittling and Benica, and then you got the the Acura NSX in front of David Junt. So there's a lot of things happening here that could go either completely great or completely Pete Tong, Brad.
I tell you what, whoever wins GT3 overall, I will overnight Amazon Prime you a new pair of underwear because you will need it for moments especially like this. Look at this, hypercars side by side through. That's George Angelides going around in the mix. There we go. I believe that is Lane who just snuck underneath 2 there. The P3 overall hypercar going around. Now another hypercar comes through and another hypercar comes through on the main straight as you watch them all go around. And now you've got to look behind too. Not only are you trying to spot where these hypercars are in the mix, just battling through, you need to keep in mind where the cars you're battling are, Schlichting and Benica, because they are right in the mix, ready to go, raring to go as well, and they're going to catch up to you fairly quick here with a little bit of slipstream help. And now as we go through, now you got to watch the pit exit and watch for hypercars coming out of the pit exit. They're going to want to swing around you and see where things go as we get another replay coming up. This is going to be, this is that battle right there at the beginning. Hard on the brakes, the GT3 bumping the rear there of the hypercar and sending the hypercar into the GT3 leader. Now they come through, bump around. I mean, these guys have the elbows out. I know Sergio Perez likes to hit walls, but I mean, also Sergio Perez knows how to defend in a car, and well, I think they took a couple notes from him.
Yes. Very interesting.
Cheeky.
Very interesting currently at the moment. So, so there we go. As these guys continue to fight it out, pit stops coming up of both classes very, very shortly. David Junt and Schlittling are still in first and second. Benica still climbing out there as well. Paul Glover missed you last race, James. Oh, did he? Thanks, Stace. You'll never admit it and tell me that. But I know deep down he did. You know what I mean? Let's be real about it. Come on.
I mean,
he hasn't replied in my hero either, Brad, which was what I was expecting.
He's not going to reply at all. Look at this battle right here. Down into turn 1 again. They go through, and look at that. Good defense from not Dan Kirby. Wow, I am reading the wrong thing from Junt there to defend on Schlichting and keep the battle through. That turn 1, turn 2, there's a couple of different lines you could go. And depending on which line you decide, you can completely block the other driver as they come around there. Junt and Schlichting doing very well, and Benica just on the bottom edge of your screen. They're now to the center of your screen. It's the black Aston Martin, and is going to be getting involved as well here. So just keep your eyes on this battle, because this GT3 battle is probably going to be the best battle we have on track here in the next 35 minutes. It looks like the hypercars have kind of sorted themselves out, and by sorted themselves out, I mean Dan Kirby's just taken off and is going to try to run away and carve through traffic.
Yeah, Kirby's was in the pit lane at the moment as well. Moling's still in there, De Bruyn's still in there as well, as these guys continue to fight there. And I believe Woot has been off the side of the circuit. I'm sure we don't have to impound his misery any more than what he's probably already had during this race, as these GT3s 1, 2, 3 still on the main screen, still showing you what class, what action they've got, and how much quality they've got here. So let's see what goes on with David Junt, Eduardo Benica, William Schlittling. The leader is Kirby, and behind that is Luke Mitchell. That's not going to be too disorientating, because Cameron Barker is in there. Oh, Barker just blocked Mitchell, unfortunately, as well. That stopped Mitchell getting near Barker, and you can see Kirby and Barker are in the same livery, which is not going to help us at all, Brad.
Yeah, it's the fun of the team game, though. When you have multiple teammates in similar enough liveries that it's very hard to tell the difference, and you just got to know that little bit as we go through. Look at, hypercars galore, contact through. Someone's off very wide. Oh my gosh, and there's still... Are these bumper cars?
Mitchell and Kirby still banging doors. And Barker there as well. Whitehead was sandwiched in between these guys coming down into Delago. Yes, Craig, there is a chance of a full order rundown, but if you can find me 5 minutes to give it to you, sir, I'll happily do that. But at the moment, we've got this battle for the lead going on in the hypercars, battle for the lead in the GT3s. There's a lot of action going on. We've got replays on here. We've seen really a lot. This is what was going on into turn 1. Barker's in there, Kirby's in there. You can see that's Whitehead misses the braking point. It goes straight off the side of the circuit as well. And there's been a whole heap of action. And at the moment, Luke Mitchell is out in front with Dan Kirby in second. That's Cameron Barker all the way down in 16th behind him, trying to stay with him here. Oh, they got to make a decision there. Mitchell did, Kirby didn't. Is he going to get sandwiched on that inside line? Going through Junkao up the hill. It's a straight run now. Barker literally just needs to push Kirby through this, Brad. He cannot afford to hold him up by trying to overtake him.
Yeah, he really can't afford it, but do you know what's going to happen? Exactly what he can't afford to do, because that's just how race car drivers are. They're going to sit there and battle and do everything that we say they shouldn't do for the greater good, and they're going to do it anyway. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, because this race is heating up yet again as we continue around here and going down the main straight. Try to get around that lap traffic, do very well to do so, and then just keep things moving down in the GT3 category in the bottom right corner of your screen. That is just still continuing and is going to continue and continue and continue, and it's not going to stop. And I would be surprised if it stops anytime before the checkered flag, unless there is an error, because David Junk's there. You see William Schlichting is in the mix as well. There's been a little bit of like sparks flying off the front bumper of Schlichting, and I'm wondering if he just has that front end that low down to go through. And then of course Eduardo Benica is right in the mix as well. The top three separated by just a few, actually no, just under a second for the top three in the GT3 category. Look at that hypercar trying to dive up the inside. Mind the number board there and then keep it moving. Another hypercar coming through. James, avert your eyes. I don't think you're going to want to watch whatever is about to happen. Oh, man. Hard dive on the brakes coming through. Wiggle from David Judd.
Shoots off the side of the circuit there as well. Shoots off the side of the circuit. Schlichting goes back into the lead. I'm not even sure where that hypercar is going to go, but he's going to have to try. Don't force him. Come on.
Oh.
You're off the circuit, bro. You're off the circuit. You can't force yourself round just because you're off the side of the circuit. Doesn't work. You know what I mean? If William had kept his gap there and you had taken him out, whoever that was in that car, I didn't actually see the number on the front there. If you'd have taken him out, you'd have been responsible being that you're off the side of the circuit. You try and go around the outside of a GT3 that's going to wash out all day, going around turn 2, and if you get hit, well, no offence, it's your own fault on that one. As these guys continue to fight it out. Junt, Schlichting, and Eduardo Benica, 1, 2, 3. Oh, but he can get a big old slide on there. I'll tell you what, these GT3s, they're keeping it nice and clean. They're having a great little battle, and it only ever gets interfered when you're just, when the hypercars are going through. But at the moment, they're still fighting out, nice and clean. Fair play, Schlichting, Junt and Benica, amazing job. Oh, yeah, Junt's gone in. Junt's gone in, yeah. Junt's got in, that's going to put him down. Now what's he going to be able to do with the others here? Magnus Dahlgren's jumped onto the live screen as well. Not seen much of Magnus today. He has got Tom Lane behind him. Tom trying to battle his way back through. That is Gilles Lalonde in the GT3. That is Tom Lane in the hypercar right up behind you. Lalonde in that Mustang on the left-hand side. Still battling it out now. Down they go into Juncker, the left-hander.
Dahlgren there getting very feisty trying to find a way through, and not what I'd recommend.
You've got to. It was almost, it looked like a death of uncertainty for Magnus Dahlgren. You know what I mean? It just didn't look like he knew where to put the car to decide what he's going to do, and you can't afford to do that. You've got to do that early, otherwise you are going to be in deep, doo-doo would be the word. Doo-doo.
If anyone has any blood pressure medication to bring blood pressure down, I am sure that Mr. James Parfit would appreciate it right now, because this race is rough, and it's got my blood pressure up as we go through. Watching Dahlgren here continue to battle and go through. I mean, this is just, it's pockets of action everywhere, and then the second you get a hypercar around a GT3, they all just forget how to drive for a little bit. 29 minutes left to go, though. We are 2/3 race distance as it stands. And tell you what, drivers are quick around here, though. If they can keep the car on the track, they're pretty quick, pretty competitive going through. But the question really is going to be, at the moment, Luke Mitchell is ahead of Dan Kirby by 2 seconds. Can Dan Kirby get back ahead of him? And in the GT3 battle, what happens with these three?
Well, I can't tell you, but I can tell you Dahlgren just took a bump up the rear end from Tom Lane there, as he breaks a little bit early. They're in the top left there. I believe they're lead two on the top right. They're running 3 wide. That's Good Life in the hypercar underneath. Recognisable on that silver machine that he's got. Continues there. Somebody off the side of the circuit on the left-hand side. That's the GT3. I can't quite see who that is. It looks like one of the Bices. As you can see, Tom Lane trying to go up the inside in turn 1. You can't make a gap. That ain't there, son. Never going to happen in a month for Sundays. Tom Lane's got to go again. Down the Red Raposta they go. It's just to try and make gaps. If Dahlgren covers off the inside, he's going to make it very late. Lane forward about it. Stuck his nose out. Brought it back in through Delago they go. Now up the hill into the Ferradala. Lane's on the inside. He's going to try and go around the outside. Dahlgren's just got to open it up a little bit. Give him a squeeze. Give him a squeeze. He's going to have to think twice. It's Tom Lane. Dahlgren's playing the nice card in the main screen there as well. Through the right-hander. Tom Lane's going to have the inside into Pittarino. Bang, bang, bang. They go. There goes the beat of the drum as the hypercar keep fighting out. Knocking into each other. Oh, settle, Magnus. Settle, son. As it going around the right-hander now. Dropping down Mugello. Down into Juncker. And Magnus Dahlgren, Tom Lane swapping paint all day there. Brad as well, as they're having a right little go at each other as well.
Yeah, and I think the big thing here is that you just need to breathe a little bit and know when to give that battle up. I mean, they're battling hard. We're still 26 minutes to go, though. It may be better just to recollect yourself for a second, let it go, and go through. And as I say that, Dan Kirby here with Luke Mitchell, this battle is heating up a little bit as we have Tom Lane again still trying to hold this battle on. And Luke Mitchell just needs for 26 minutes and 40 seconds to try to hold off Dan Kirby. And let me tell you, that is going to be... if you're Luke Mitchell and your spotter's in your ear and says, all right, you got 26 minutes, Dan Kirby's behind half a second, hold him off as best you can. I do not want to be in that position. If you put me in that position, I'm going to throw in the towel. I'd be done. That is rough here. And then you got to watch traffic as well. I mean, it's a big time. And look at Tom Lane here. Look at the traffic coming through turn 10 as we come around the left-hander of turn 11 now. Look at this. There's a Bison there. There's looks like Ross Smith is in there trying to go through. There's mixes of hypercars in there, and there's hypercar AMs in there. I mean, this is a right little chaotic little mix.
Yeah, if we can jump on board, we'd have a great cockpit shot there, wouldn't we, of Tom Lane there going through, trying to wiggle his way around everybody. As we go, where are we? Just above the windscreen of that car at the moment, looking at the inside. There goes Ross Smith here, as he's going to carry on wiggling his way through. That is Tom Lane in front. He's got Magnus Dahlgren literally behind. He's just about to go up there as well. That's past one of the back markers, I believe, there. As he's gone round for Tom Lane. Dahlgren's tucked in right behind him currently. So Magnus doing a great job trying to stick with these guys. Not really sure where he's going to go. And is that, I can't work out if that Hypercar's in this battle or not. I don't think he is, but he's got to back off. And there we go. Dahlgren goes through. Can he get past this other Hypercar? Well, he made it easy for him and just put it off the side of the circuit as well, as it goes running up into the right hand or the Ferradora, round and harder now into SA. And Magnus Dahlgren trying to drive the wheels currently off that Alpine to try and get back up to Tom Lane and that Porsche 963. He needs to there. So, yeah, Dahlgren's got some catching up to do.
Yeah, and I think Dahlgren can do it. I think it's just a very, very hard drive that's got to happen here. So we jump back in again. This GT3 battle continuing to heat up here with Benica 1.1 seconds now off of Schlichting. Schlichting doing a good job to get ahead, and I'm still looking at pit stops here and at the mixes of pit stops. We've got a few of the hypercars that have done another stop, and haven't a few of the GT3s that have done second stops. Specifically, I'm looking at David Junt. David Junt has done his second stop and has been in and is back a pretty considerable way from Benica and JT Tammy and Schlichting, and we'll see there if he comes back forward and how that GT3 battle can develop here, because it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with them as we go through. But I'm still looking at these pockets of cars as we continue around the track. There's just pockets of mixes of hypercars and AMs and GT3s and GT3 AMs, and those pockets trying to sort themselves out is where I worry that we're going to see any sort of a big one here, especially as we start to get down with 23 minutes to go here. That's where we're going to start seeing drivers kind of care a little bit less than they have about their sort of condition. They're going to get a bit more competitive. They're going to do a bit more, and they're going to really, really try to force the move and force the conversation with the car around of, you know, I want to get past you and I want to be ahead. And that's where I think if we see any sort of action, as I say that there, Daniel Scott going, they send each other through and Ewan just sends him around and says, go away, man. I don't have time for this. Hold the brakes. Hold the brakes. Now get her around. There we go. Wow. Right as I'm saying it, the drivers just have to prove it.
Yeah, I think Julian was they were either stuck together from the initial contact coming out of the S's. And that's caused Julian to turn around and be like, no, hold on. Not happening. I'm going to release you to the side of the circuit there, almost like a release you to the Kraken, almost for Johnny Yan. As Dan Scott, unfortunately, he's now got to play catch up here. So Dan Scott, he's just learned that John Yan ain't somebody to go and play with, is he? Because John just absolutely showed Dan what he can and cannot do on the racetrack. We'll replay it up on the top corner. This is the incident. You can see very, very shortly here how this one pans out, and there's a contact of relief coming through the S's, isn't there?
Yep. And then they just continue around, and I think at that point John Huyen just pulls a Max Verstappen and drives him out. Says, you know what, you want to play the game? We'll play the game, and just drives him all the way off the circuit.
But that's the thing, isn't it? I'd like to pick up on what Tony McCoffin said. It's very confusing with cars with the same livery. I do agree with you. We are nestling and wrestling with people like Dan Kirby, Cameron Barker. They've also got the same livery. John Uyan has also got the same livery. Dan Scott's got the same livery. Robert Molin's got the same livery and number. So we have been trying to make sure we get that right, and that's not always been easy either. So yes, I do feel your pain out there, Tony, and we are sorry about that, but unfortunately this is zero to do with us, as Benica is now in the pits. JT Tammy is just about to come over the JT Tammy's about to take the lead once more, and I believe Eduardo Benica has got the same livery. No, Gilles Lalonde has got that bright livery, but there is another one, isn't there, out on track who's also got that bright livery. So and Gutierrez has got the same livery. So yeah, we're trying to work our way through it here, but thank you so much for that one pointing out, Tony. As you can see, Ross Smith having a right little bit of a ding dong currently and he's in the mix with a lot of other cars. There's GT3's in there. That is Mark's, I believe, a something lap. There's Gutierrez. There's a hypercar of the leader in there. He's trying to go through. Mike Bell. There's Kirby in the background. Gilles Lalonde's in the mix. It's all going off here, Brad. How's this going to work out?
If I am that yellow Corvette GT3, I'm pulling over and staying well away from a hypercar as much as humanly possible. 20 minutes ago, when the hypercars have pulled the gloves off here and are trying to make their way through, and I would not want to be around one. They are getting back to how they were the first 20 minutes of the race. So I would just be driving with my P's and Q's together here as we see tons of action all the way around. Ross Smith there in P7.
Kirby!
Oh, that's cheeky. That's a little cheeky there, the contact from the hypercar into the Mustang. Ooh. Oh, let's just make it more complicated. Let's go 3 wide, guys. There we go, around hypercar through. Man. All right, James. I'm going to go find some blood pressure medication, because I think these guys have sorted it out. This is Dan Kirby trying to send it up the inside. Oh, thank you, Dan Kirby. Oh, my gosh. Maybe he's got it. Oh, that's a good pass.
Yeah, Herlock got it wrong going into the S's, and that gave Kirby the opportunity to come up round the outside. Down the red of Aposta they go now. Herlock's on the right-hand side. He's going up the inside. The Interceded de Lago. Now it's going to be the run up the Ferradura. Has that Isotta got more power than that Porsche? Kirby normally in the Isotta. He knows where it's strong. He knows where it's weak. And he goes into the Ferradura there, and well, Kirby manages to hold on to second place. For how long is going to be the question. Through Pinerino, the left-hander now as well. Up into Pico de Pado, the right-hander at the top of the circuit. And at the moment, Herlock still tucked in behind it. There's a long moan in my ear from Paul Glover there. We're going to find out what's going to happen very, very shortly. Down through Magello, coming into Juncal. Kirby stays out in front. Herlock tucked in right behind him. Now it's going to be a battle of pace. We know that Isotta's got pace for days. Is he going to be able to get near Kirby? That's going to be the question. 17 minutes to go here, Brad. Does the Isotta have the pace to do Dan Kirby into turn 1?
I don't think it matters.
Into the pits.
Kirby says goodbye. Pit lane time as we go through. And we're going to get a replay here really quick. And this is going to be just absolute carnage action. GT3 leader here, deep on the brakes. Look. Oh. Feisty with some hypercars.
Oh, he's up the side of the circuit. Is that JT Tammy off, or is that William Schlittling? Because at the moment, I've got JT Tammy. Oh, he's in the pits at the moment, JT. So he was leading the GT3s, but I think Bonica and Schlittling are going to come through on that one. Where's JT? JT's on the right. Oh, he's got to be on his way out, isn't he? Oh, I tell you what. Yeah, you're missing a battle down in the GT3s because JT Tammy's just come out alongside Schlittling. There you go. They're nestling in down into turn 4. And there's a hypercar in the background. JT Tammy comes out of the pit lane and is not too far behind William Schlittling. So another entrant into the freeway battle. We've lost David Junt, who's 2.8 seconds behind JT Tammy at the moment. So it was Bonica, Schlittling and Junt, and now it's Bonica, Schlittling and JT Tammy. So another substitute almost there, Brad. It's been going off.
Yeah, it's things are heating up all the way around here in the GT3s. They're really, really giving each other a run for the money. You see the blue flags blinking there as we go around. That's just the way to tell the GT3s to watch out for the hypercars as we go around. Bonica is in the lead and has pit. 2.1 seconds the gap there as Eduardo Bonica is getting passed by one of the Alpine hypercars. I'm not sure which one that is, but it's one of the black 037 hypercars. I'm not going to try to guess which one it is, as there are two on track here. And we talked about the liveries. Some of them have minor differences, like the Porsches. One of them has a red wing, one of them has a black wing, one of them has a white wing, but it does get hard to tell sometimes when you go through. It's the same thing with like how F1 does it, where like one of them will paint the camera pod a different color, and it's hard to tell sometimes just looking. But once you learn, you know, but of course liveries change from race to race as we go through, and we ride on board here in the bottom right. Hard on the brakes goes that Corvette against the Acura NSX, and who can make what stick as we go around. Hypercar possibly trying to come through a little bit behind. He's still got a few seconds before he catches up here as we go.
Ross got it wrong.
Ooh.
Ross got it wrong. There you go. Sunderlap says, I saw you get it wrong. He got it wrong going up into the Fowler there. Ross literally ran wide. Had that slide on the NRX on the NSX there as well. So unfortunately, Ross got it all wrong going up into the Fowler, and Sunderlap says, thank you very much. Sorry about that, everyone at home. My teeth weren't working for a minute.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch here. Kesby and Herlock have been into the pit 3 times, but Mitchell, Kirby, and Lane have only pit in twice. Are they?
No.
They're going to make another stop, right?
They should have to. There's no way there's no way they're going to make it to the end. I don't think anyway.
Even if it's just like a splash and dash, they should have to make another stop.
It will be a splash and dash. This GT3 lead battle spread out a bit. The AMS has got the Boyces 1 and 2 at the moment. Moreno in 3rd. Hypercar, we got Luke Mitchell with Dan Kirby, Tom Lane, and Ben Kesby. Your top 4 with Dan Herlock in 5th. Suvic bringing up 6th. Then you got Mike Bell, Woodward de Boer, Magnus Dahlgren, and Robert Molin are your top 10 in the Hypercar Pros. Scar Pope leading the AMS. He's also above some of the pros at the moment. 3 places above Bernardo, Takanashi, Scott, Barker, Urian, Hall. Scar Pope doing an incredible job. He's got Jerry Chen and Vinicius Goncalves, your top 3 in the Hypercar. John Mayer, Whitehead, Good Life, bit of an awful race for both of them. They've gone off the side of the circuit. There we got Eduardo Benica sitting in front of the GT3 Pros. He's got Schlittling and JT Tammy with David Junt. They were all together. They have had traffic coming through, and they've all found themselves a little bit more spread out, but I expect that gap to close down. In the LMGT3 AMS, it's Matthew Boyce in first, and then Boyce in second with Stephen. Pierre Moreno has had his own little issue, and I wonder if Mike Boyce can get Pierre Moreno, and then it'll be a Boyce 1, 2, 3. That'd be quite amazing for all of them. I believe that might actually be the first time ever that has actually happened, so that would be absolutely amazing if they can get that, but we'll see how it goes on this one. JT Tammy closing in on Schlittling. This is 1.8. Schlittling 2.1 to Benica, and David Junt is 3 seconds behind JT Tammy. So let's see how they get on here, and it's Bice, apparently, with a silent U.
Yes, Bice. And 12 minutes to go. Lots of action left to happen here, James. And I think at this point, if you're a GT3, avoid hypercars like the plague. Just stay away from them, because this is where things are going to get very, very intense here. As we get a replay coming up. And this is another one of the Alpines. This is going to be Robert Molin. Yeah. Oh! That's a hard hit to the outside wall.
Why?
Straight to the pit lane.
Why?
I don't have an answer, James. I don't know that I want to know the answer, to be honest with you. That was a interesting move there, as we see Timon Subic in P7 in the hypercars trying to make a run around and going through. Gilles Lalonde has had another moment, and yeah, James, I don't have an answer as to why that would be the move to go around the outside there for Moling. I don't know, but Robin Moling has had one race that he'll want to forget.
Tell you what, if you were a sponsor in his car, you would have had a good time for exposure on TV. On that one, unfortunately. So, with Magnus Dahlgren in 9th place with Moling, and I believe that's Good Life, who's a lapped car there behind there. There is the other Ross Smith liveried NSX without the sponsor down the side of that one. as Good Life just goes through. Is Molan going to make the move on Dahlgren going down into turn 1? It's number 37, Black Machine, looks at the inside. Dahlgren defends the inside. Molan's trying to go around the outside. Dahlgren's going to have, you're going to force it up there. He's shoulder barging all the way through there. Molan at the inside line. He did have overlaps on Dahlgren, and Dahlgren does have to concede the position there, Brad, as well. Very aggressive move, but he did have that overlap once again there for Molan.
Yeah, we're 10 minutes to go here, and this is the point where I think the gloves are off and the game is done, and everybody's just going to start fighting as much as they can through the end. They're really going to be looking for just hard racing. Officially 10 minutes to go, and look who's in the pits. Tom Lane in P3 as he drops down, and we've got a replay coming up there. I don't have a good answer as to what's happened. Exit. Oh,
Who is that?
Hey.
How did he end up?
That was a weird one, and
Which?
yeah, I don't.
There's one before that with Brian Hall as well. That was so bizarre. There's somebody else off to the right hand side there. Just caught him in the background. Magnus Dahlgren as well. So yeah, something's gone completely, desperately wrong for some of these guys as Dahlgren tries to close black up on Molan. Kirby's back into the pits. So on 9 minutes to go, there's a round. Is that David Junt? It is David Junt.
Oh no! What has happened to David Junt?
No! He comes. There's a car comes across. Who's that in front of David Junt? I can't see who that is. There's a car in front. Yeah, there goes. There, but David Junt ends up getting caught up with a car that spins in front of him, and I can't find who actually that car is. Who is that car? Yeah, Josh Lepetri there. David Junt and Josh Lepetri.
Yeah,
you can see them now. Yeah, you can see them coming through turn 1. Lepetri gets it all wrong. He slides into the corner. He slides across the track, and watch David Junt straight across. Boom!
Nothing he could do to avoid that one, unfortunately, and that's just poor luck. It's poor luck, honestly. There's nothing else you could say, but David Junt, such a strong driver. Now down into P4 here as we run through. And something big just happened in the background. Oh, who was that? That was a Mustang? That was some hypercars? What the heck?
Gilles Lalonde. Good Life's gone around the outside of Lalonde. He's put himself in the wall. He's gone and collected 2 other hypercars of Jason. Oh my God, that's Scar Pope. No. Scar Pope, the lead of the hypercar AMS. He's trying to go through. He got collected from Good Life.
Oh,
Watch, Good Life goes, I don't even know what, if we can go on to Good Life quick enough, he goes around the outside of Lalonde. Lalonde's obviously going to wash out. He washes out, Good Life's on the grass, they make contact, it comes back in, bang, Scar Pope, Hypercar AM, leader, gong, 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 into the shadow realm, and in the audition for the Stranger Things upside down there, he's just got off. So poor old Scar Pope, he's still leading by Jerry Chen, but what sort of state of the car is in at this moment in time? I'm trying to go, this car looks relatively straight, but I can tell you one thing, Scar Pope's not going to be happy with that one.
He is going to be livid. The only saving grace for him is that there's 6 minutes to go, so it's just drive it out at this point and take what you get. I mean, there's not a lot he can really do at this point, but just go through. I mean, they kept it so clean for so long after the first 15 minutes or so, and now it's just all gone.
Watch Good Life tries to come around the outside. You can see the NSX, the Peugeot X9 there goes round. He comes out, boom, contact, he goes round, Good Life, bang, straight into the back of Pope, and that Mustang collects a hypercar as well. Can't quite see who that hypercar is he collects, but he collects Whitehead, I think that might be, in that other hypercar. No, it's not Whitehead in that hypercar. Oh, I'm going to have to go through and find out. It might have been Concalves with Concalves livery. So, yeah, big one. Big one. No, says Stacey in YouTube chat, as we've got 5.5 minutes to go.
Well, and I think what happened there, too, was just a little bit of hyperfixation on the hypercar ahead. You saw the 9x8 go around the outside, and I think there was a case of, well, I can do that, too, and then the Mustang just washed out. I don't have a good answer there for how that happened. Big wiggle there from the hypercar. I think Schlichting might have made a little contact. It was hard to tell, but Schlichting is now within a second of Banica. 4 minutes, 50 seconds to go here in this 90 minutes of Sao Paulo. And the GT3 battle is less than a second. The hypercar battle is 2.5 seconds. And to tell you what, if things are running the way they've ran the past 85 minutes, just keep it clean and you might be okay.
Tell you what, whoever's in that 9x8 is taking chances running around the outside there. That's so dangerous. As we see what goes on this one. We're on board with...
It's a big slide there. Whoever.
We're on board with Slitley. I think this might be the contact with that hypercar, wasn't it? That's what we're looking at.
And no contact.
Very close.
By millimeter. By millimeters, no contact.
Yeah. Very, 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 very close there. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, says Stacey in YouTube chat. Thank you very much for that one. Doing our own adverts there again. But it's Banica and Schlichting battle are still going off with JT Tammy there.
John Ewan been around somewhere. Not sure exactly.
It's Overton. He's been smashed into. Well,
oh my gosh!
I don't even know if he left the room from Matthew Overton there. Overton on the inside. John Uyan, 2 admins to CMS. This is going to go well. Excuse me.
Oh,
is there
boy.
room?
And
I don't know.
Oh, that's going to be a conversation later. That's going to be a conversation later with 3 minutes left. Who is going extra wide in the background? Let's just run everyone off the road, why don't we, out of turn 3?
Scott Pope, isn't it? I think that's Dan Scott on the screen. Luke Mitchell has just come over the line. He's going to have 2 more laps to go as Dan Scott's in this with Tom Lane. And I believe that's Cameron Barker, I think. I think it's Cameron Barker. No, it's John Ian in... the liveries are driving me insane. Yeah, John Ian there trying to go past Scott. He's going to run out wide. He's going to try to cut back. Is he going to be able to get the job done? That's going to be the question here, Brad. Or is he going to end up in disaster?
Whatever you do, just keep it on the racing surface. I mean, just don't hit the other car, please. That's the big question here. As we dive down, Daniel Scott around the inside of that pink, blue, and white car, and everyone follows through. Seems like everyone's kept it together here. And now the question is just, can you carve your way through lap traffic? Because that's George Angelides, I believe, on the outside, as Daniel Scott will move it up the inside. And George Angelides says, I do not want to be the next hypercar victim, and stays extremely wide. Lalonde in the background having a bit of a oopsie daisy, and we keep it moving around here. 1.5 minutes left to go, James.
Yeah, 1.5 minutes left. Luke Mitchell is left-hander. He's down into the Siglo de Lago, running up into Ferradoro. He's going to have 1 more lap. It looks like Gilles Lalonde and Jaime Zalecki may have made a little bit of a boo-boo-boo between themselves. As Dan Scott there is trying to fight his way here as well. John Ian, and seeing how these guys get on, but these hypercars having a right go at each other.
Yeah, they are not done. George Angelides in the background, I believe, going into the pits there, having to do a splash and dash on the final lap. That hurts, but of course, George Angelides several laps down. Contact as they go through. Daniel Scott there, and then you've got P2 and Oh my gosh, who in the world caused that one? That's hard racing with 45 seconds to go. Get every position you can and sort it out later.
Oh my God, if we can get the Matthew Overton off track with Gilles Lalonde, you will possibly see one of the worst rejoins possibly I may have just witnessed, or he just got it all a little bit wrong there. But Luke Mitchell starts his what will be, I've got the final lap, but I can tell you what, Matthew Overton and Gilles Lalonde are not going to be comfortable with each other. Here comes the leader now. You can see Johanna Aposta into the Cedar del Lago. We go to left-hander. Luke Mitchell, be careful, be careful. There's a he's off the side. Oh, who's the hypercar? Don't split that GT3. Through he goes. Oh, he's got it wrong.
Goodness me.
I think this might be the Matthew. Watch Matthew Overton come around the corner. Gilles Lalonde's going to come onto the track now. And then, yeah, he was spinning his wheels up. He tried to get the car moving, spun the wheels up. Paulo Gilles Lalonde, around he went. Matthew Overton said, see you later. Down through into Mugello we go. Now he's got one more main corner for Luke Mitchell. And then he's got the run up through Sabina the boxes, over the line. Luke Mitchell is going to wrap up the Hypercar Bros. He's going to come over the line. It's going to be a Mitchell win. Here we go now. Through he goes. Luke Mitchell wins the Hypercars. He's taken the victory in the Hypercar Bros. Dan Kirby comes over the line in second, with Ben Kesby should come over the line in third place. In the Hypercar AMS, it was Scar Pope managed to hold on for dear life, but I want to have a look. And it looks like Eduardo Benica. Benica's going to make it 2 out of 2. He's going to take the winner to Glen. He's going to take the winner into Lagos. Eduardo Benica and the GT3 Pros double back-to-back in that Aston Martin. Schlittling right behind him as well. Matthew in the Hypercar in this GT3 AMS in that Corvette is going to come over and take the win in the GT3 AMS. So great little battle here. But Matthew Bice, did he get a Bice 1, 2, 3? No, we got a Bice 1, then 3, unfortunately. So not a 1, 2, 3 Bices on that one, Brad.
Yeah, that was a good race all the way around of them trying to just survive and make it through there. That GT3 battle, Benica, Schlichting, and Tammy really well. Luke Mitchell in the Isotta just surviving, showing that the key to that race was survival, as we discussed. And same thing with the GT3 AMS there of Bice, Matthew Bice showing that really all you had to do was survive if you were in the GT3 AMS. Try to stay out of trouble, keep it across. And Matthew Bice bringing Trash Panda Racing another dominating win in the GT3 AMS. But Luke Mitchell take a bow. Dan Kirby being defeated for the first time in a hot minute that I can think of. Usually we're talking about how Dan Kirby's doing and how Dan Kirby is the one to beat. And Luke Mitchell just managed to outdo him here today.
Yeah, he definitely did. Absolutely stunning job from Luke. Nice little ding-dong battles all the way through on that one. We'll see if we can get the results up for the race. And we'll have a look and see who came out on top. But it was an amazing race there. So great job. Great job from everybody. Yes, it was hard. Yes, there was battles, but it is Luke Mitchell, your winner this evening here with Dan Kirby in second place, Ben Kesby in third, and Dan Herlock in fourth with Mike Bell in fifth, Tom Lane in sixth. Robin Molin finished seventh in the end after all of his ups and downs throughout the race, with Timon Suvic in eighth, Magnus Dahlgren ninth, and then Wouter de Bruin down in 10th place. Moving on from that, for the next page is Ernest Bernardo in 11th, then Scar Pope in 12th. Jerry Chen takes second in the AMS. Scar won the Hypercar AMS. Cameron Barker in 14th, Dan Scott 15th, Johnny Young 16th, then Yuki Takanashi down in 17th, Vinicius Concalves 18th, John Meyer 19th, and Jason Whitehead in 20th. Then Brian Hall down in 21st, and Luke Goodlife, who has got a striking livery, but boy, oh boy, was it a rough race. Eduardo Benico wraps up 2 for 2 in the GT3 Pros. William Schlittling pushed him all the way, and then JT Tummy in 25th, and then David Jun, who we saw got caught up so unlucky towards the end, finished 4th in class. Johnny Gutierrez in 27th, Mark Sunflap 28th, James Walker 29th, and George Angelidis down there in 30th, unfortunately for him. Ross Smith in 31st, and Matthew Bice winning the GT3 AMS, and Matthew Overton finishing in 33rd, with Jaime Selecki in 34th. Pierre Moreno battled his way back into 2nd in the GT3 AMS. That's a big deal for that young man. He had a very rough start to the beginning of the race. Mike Bice comes up and rounds the podium off for the GT3 AMS. Stephen Bice in 37th, for 4th in class, and Josh Lepetri in 38th. On that one, then we got Gilles Lalonde and Stephen Miller rounding out the top 40. Then Carl Strohel, Troy Uyan, Norm Graff, and Gagan Dev did not finish the race there as well. I think we can safely say, Brad, that was a very interesting evening of racing. A very heart attack worthy race for all three of us up in the booth at some points. You know what I mean? I think even Paul was, needing a defib at one point. So I think that there was a lot to take in that race, wasn't there? And a lot to dissect, and just how tough it is out there, we're not going to know because we're up in the booth. But it did look very tough, and it was a hard one to try and dissect on there.
Once you got past the first 5 minutes and we started having traffic become a factor, it was a whole different race. I think if you had only had hypercars on the track or only had GT3 cars on the track, it would be one style of race. You mix them together and you give them about 5 minutes for the hypercars to loop through, and that is where a whole nother ball game began. And from there, it was attrition, it was survival. It was bumper cars. I mean, there were times where it was just absolute mix of chaos all the way around, where it was, you don't know what to look at and you don't know what to do. And even for the drivers, there's moments where you just got to close your eyes and hang on. And really, I think that was the key, is who was able to cut their way through traffic and really just have the cleanest and really the most luck on their side at the end of the day.
Yeah, I do fully agree. I think we'll go and start from the GT3 AMS with Matt Bice, who wrapped up the GT3 AMS. We'll have a chat with Matt now, your winner of the GT3 AMS. Matt is in the booth. Matt, welcome in there, sir. How are you? Matt? Matt? Matt?
Hey, I'm in. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, we can, dear sir. How are you?
I'm doing all right now.
Now that it's finished, I presume?
Oh, yeah.
Come on and tell us about it, because I got to be honest, the three of us up here needed 999 at one point. It was getting that hairy.
I think all of us down there did too. It was a lot of cars, a lot of stuff moving on a very small track, and there was just no time to look anywhere that I needed to be looking.
Well, yeah. The good thing is you come out with a win. Was there a secret, Matt, or did you just turn yourself into an owl for the last 90 minutes and spin your head in all directions?
A bit owl-like, but I did have a game plan coming in. We did a lot of practice this week, dialing the cars in, so I had a set number that I wanted to hit each lap, and so the goal was to hit my number and not hit anything else, and it seemed to work out okay today.
I love that. Hit the number and avoid hitting everybody, because there was just so much there as well. But Matt, listen, we were just shy. We didn't quite get a Matt, Mike, Stephen 1, 2, 3. When are we going to see one of them this season?
Man, I don't know. We keep getting closer and closer, and it's eluding us. So I feel it's coming. One of these next races, I'm sure it'll happen. I hope it'll happen.
Cota. That's going to be a tough one to get it out.
Hey, now.
Oh, yeah.
No, I suppose on the good side, you're going to have more room.
Well, that's true. Although not as familiar with Coda, so we'll have a bit more practice to got to do.
All right, Matt. Well, listen, great job on taking that GT3 and win there, buddy. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
I just want to thank everybody that put this on, CMS folks, for holding the event, and everybody up in the booth. Y'all did a great job. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Well, Matt, take care, and we'll see how you get on at Circuit of the Americas.
All right, fantastic. Thanks.
All right, next up, we'll have a chat with a GT3 Pro winner, taking back-to-backs in Watkins and here as well, Eduardo Benica. Eduardo, welcome in, dear sir. How are you?
Yes, man. Good evening for everyone. I feel fine, I feel great. There was a very competitive race, and it's a good sensation at the end.
Yeah, very tough with hypercars coming through, right? There was quite a lot of them today, and it made it a tough race. But it was great battles with you, William, JT as well, and David Jun having a right little ding-dong in the GT3 Pros.
Yeah, in fact, I was most of the time behind the David and William, and in the end, it's a matter of detail because some hypercar throw William out of the track in Essa do Senna, and I take the opportunity and overtake him. So there's a little situation that happens sometimes that defines the race.
Yeah, I do fully agree. But there was, that wasn't the only incidents between hypercars and GT3s. It was very, very tough out there, Eduardo, as well, to be honest. But back-to-backs for you. Going into Circuit of the Americas next time out on August 24th. How do you feel about the going to Coda?
Well, not my favorite track, but well, we have to see. There's two long straights that can give the advantage to the NSX and other cars, and I hope for the best to do the points and keep reaching Junta in the championship standings.
Awesome stuff. Well done, Eduardo, on your win in the GT3 Pros there, sir. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Oh, I want to shout William. He's a Brazilian friend too, so we were racing at home today, and I want to shout to Joe Ginish. Unfortunately, she could not race today, but probably next race he'll be here with us.
Awesome stuff, Eduardo. Well, thanks so much for taking the time, and congratulations on your GT3 win.
Thank you, guys.
Right, and let's have a chat with the Hypercar AM winner. Well, from our perspective, we didn't see much of him, which must have mean he had a nice, quiet race. However, there was an incident towards the end of the race that did put his lead in jeopardy, but he still come and won it anyway. Scarpo, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, the heart rate's just dropping down after that incident. Yep. I'm doing good.
Oh,
How are you
mate.
guys?
I feel like I've had a heart attack all the way through this, man, to be honest, Scar. It's been absolutely crazy. You led, and then bang. You think you just got through the carnage. Good life comes along, not in control, and goes straight into the rear of you. What were you thinking?
Literally that. I had that split moment of, oh, I've made it. This is fine. Good choice. Good. No. Okay, now I'm facing the wrong way.
Did you sit there and have a panic, or was you just sitting there praying that the car was okay?
I was just hoping the car was okay. It wasn't really. It had a lot more understeer, and I was just lucky I got a gap to Jerry, and wasn't really in the chase for a top 10 anyway, so I just took it easy for the rest of the race, and it was a big scare though. I was lucky it wasn't wheel gone or something,
Mate, I'm not quite sure what language you would have used in the car, but I can tell you what language I probably would have used, and that's not repeatable on YouTube at that moment in time. I can tell you that much, because that would have absolutely scared the living out of me. I can tell you on that. But listen, great victory from you as well. That gives you some points in the championship. George had a tough race. Jerry obviously went about, did his business, and finished in second. Optimistically, Scar, do you think you can get the championship?
I really need Jerry to have a bad race or two, but it's on the table. I just got to keep plugging away and see what I can do.
Awesome job there, sir. Awesome job, and well done for coming back and taking the win. Anyway, in the Hypercar Arms, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
You guys, CMS, and all the crew who put this on for us all. It's such a blast. Cheers to all.
Yeah. Awesome stuff, Scar. Well done, sir. And I look forward to seeing what you can do next time out at Coda.
Cheers, guys.
Take care. Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, your last man into the booth is Mr. Luke Mitchell. At a race all the way through with Dan Kirby there, battle of the pit stops. He come out, he made the most of getting past the traffic. He took the win in the end as well, Mr. Luke Mitchell. Luke, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm very, very hot, very sweaty, but very happy.
Oh, mate, you and me both. I can tell you. Tell us, Luke, it was quite manic out there.
Yeah, it was. You couldn't relax at any point. You either was lapping GT3s or you had hypercar AMs. It was just hectic. I mean, I don't know. I thought going into this with some limited practice, it was just go for top six, hit top six. And then when we started, it was change the tyres. And then it was in the middle of the race, no, don't change tyres. Just fuel. But I mean, hour and a half, well worth it, definitely.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting one. I think for people to sit and watch at home, for us up here in the booth, just what does it give you, that sense of achieving a win in a race like this? Because it's not been easy. It's been tough, but you've come through and taken the victory anyway. What's that feeling like to all the people at home that sort of don't get that kind of feeling from racing?
Yeah, it's a rush. I mean, this is my first ever endurance win as well, which is really nice. I mean, I've done a few rounds of this before and sort of scuppered myself in those races with poor decisions. My last one in Spa, when it was wet, I done the whole race on dries because I refused to admit I made the wrong decision. So it's a rush and it's relief because obviously I feel like I should be at the front of these fields. I was fortunate in this one. I got lucky with some GT3s when Kirby was catching me, and obviously Herlock at the back. I mean, he still finished like P3, P4 or whatever. So, but yeah, really, really happy.
Yeah, I think, you've got to be, because that was just incredible there as well. Luke, great job. Are we going to see you at COTA next time out?
I believe is that 24th of August.
It is.
Yeah, no, I'm on holiday that one, so I'll be back for, I think it's Fuji after that.
Ooh, off to anywhere nice?
I'm off to Mallorca. So.
Oh, well, love it. To be fair, it's got to be better than weather than what we've got in the UK at the moment, bud.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a nicer heat than what I'm experiencing in this shed tonight as well.
Yeah, definitely. Me in my office as well. Anyone you want to shout out, Luke, before we let you go, buddy?
Yeah, just obviously the Smile Power guys, Dan Herlock and Mike Bell. Obviously, Dan done a great job with the setup, and Mike feeding information in my ear all night about staying on the right tyre and whether to change the tyres and the fuel for the last stint. So thanks a lot to the Smile Power guys.
Yeah, awesome job. Well, Luke, thanks so much for joining us there, buddy, and have a nice holiday, and we'll see you at Fuji.
Thank you very much.
Well, Brad, I think you can safely say that's been probably the most chaotic race we've witnessed so far this season.
I didn't think it could get crazier than Imola, and then it got crazier than Imola. I'm very thankful that COTA is the next track, because as you said, it's much wider, and hopefully will be a little more room to work around the lap traffic and see how things go from there.
Yeah. I'm not sure how it's going to go, to be honest. Basically, it's been absolutely chaotic here this evening as well. Thank you so much to everybody that's joined us throughout the YouTube chat. The out there, Stacey, Mr. Reese is in there as well. Tony McCoffin, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and there's been loads of messages through all of you, and I can't read every single one, but thank you so much for joining us on that one. I think, to be honest, guys, me, Paul, and Brad are off to see some blood pressure specialists now. But for now, as always, take care, have a great week, and you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.